So I am going to be inviting Sani up now, so he's ready for his talk. How are you doing, Sani?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Hello.
There we go. Have you need to share your screen, good sir? Otherwise, nobody's going to be learning any of your wonderful stuff.
Yes. I have that in. Right.
Perfect. I believe you are a contractor or a web agency around building cross-platform applications.
Yeah. Whatever fits the boat. Yeah. I'm just a consultant. I build mostly web and mobile applications and among other things. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So, without further ado, I'm going to add your slides and boot me off the internet so you can share.
All right. All right. Hello, everybody. Yes. My name is Sani Yusuf.
Um,
Let's.
Pardon? Shall we retry that?
Oh.
Got to have no idea what's happening here. The internet was just going squirrely noises.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I kind of lost you there for a second.
Oh no, I had removed myself so you could start talking, because otherwise people would be annoyed at my booming big voice of bigness. It's like big bushy beard.
Okay.
And here we go. Let's try that again. And I'm once again going to boot myself so you can start.
All right. All right. Apologies for that. Mike just broke the internet, so hopefully we can fix it, because that's literally what my talk is about. Hi, everybody. My name is Sani Yusuf. The title of the talk is Web is the New Native. Can everybody hear? There's no problems like in the chat room, like just thumbs up, like, or just say avatar if everything is all good. Like just making sure. Okay, I think we're good to go. So the title of the talk is Web is the New Native. So let me tell you a little bit about my boring self. My name is Sani Yusuf. Sani Yusuf with a wonderful smile. Yes. So I'm a good developer expert in Angular and all things web. I'm also an author, so sometimes I get some inspiration and I wake up in the middle of the night and I write something, and people are crazy enough to read it and find it nice, amazing. Who'd have known? I'm also an Angular trainer, so sometimes I travel around the world, different cities, and I go and I train amazing people and I teach them how to use Angular. Don't tell them I don't know what I'm doing, but they seem to believe I really know what I'm doing, and it has worked wonders. So trust me, should write a book about that. And if you know me or you've heard me talk, you know that this was coming, because I am what you call an Avatar enthusiast. The movie Avatar, James Cameron, 2008. I am absolutely in love with that movie. Like I went to Disneyland and we were queuing up for 2 hours, and I literally became a tour guide for all the people queuing up. They were pointing out things. What's that? To the degree that I was given a card. Like, if you really want to work here, yeah, why don't you come do this? So I really love Avatar. And it's easy to find me online. You can find me everywhere at Sani Yusuf, literally just my name. So let's talk about the web. The web. What is the web? So let's talk about the web. The web before today. Like, when I say the web today, people have different notions and all of that. But like before today, this was what the web was like. It was just mainly focused on content. You went to www.crazywebsite.com, you saw a white blank screen and then text, and that was it. This is actually the World Wide Web, like the main, I guess, paper for the WWW, Tim Berners-Lee. Who knew that, creating the web would make someone a billionaire? But yes, there was no interactivity in the web. The web was very boring. It was like a bunch of, what's it called? Text, and that's it, and links, right? That's it. And browser support was an absolute whirlwind. Like, it was not a good place. You had all these Netscape, crazy browser and everything. I still remember when Chrome was launched, actually, but browser support was terrible. Really, 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 really terrible. And like, that same version of the web actually still works today. So on the left-hand side here, you can see a picture for Craigslist. Craigslist.com, in case you don't know, is a website where I think you can literally hire on just like a classified ads website like it became very popular because like you could literally, I don't know, go rent serial killers or something like that. There, it's just so crazy website, and it hasn't really changed since like 2000, well, 19 in the 90s, when the web was pretty fresh. Guess what? These guys, I think, it's still not clear because their earnings are not public, but I think the rumor is that they turn over close to $1 billion every other like year. That's how amazing it is. It's like literally like a huge website. The founders are billionaires. I can see someone in the chat saying they feel very old because they recognize this. And on the right hand side, you have echo.com. Now, why did I put echo.com? I put echo.com because it hasn't changed. And this was one of the websites where a young Nigerian, myself, would spend all his money going to the cyber cafes to learn how to code in HTML. And echo.com was one of those websites that had free HTML tutorials, and it's still available to today. You know, if there's a way I could literally donate back to this website, if you know anyone that literally is attached to it, I'll be more than happy. And it still works, you know. So, and then, you know, if you wanted to do anything interactive or anything serious, the desktop was the only way. Does anybody remember this? Encarta Encyclopedia. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, what's it called? What's it called? Like, remember Encarta Encyclopedia? Because I think when I was a kid, this was like, it was cool to have Encarta on your computer because you'd like go and be like, oh, you know, I read it in Encarta. Encarta was the Wikipedia back in the days. Like, it was an honor, it was a pleasure. And I know most of you didn't pay for it. I am pretty sure most of you didn't pay for it. Very few people paid for Encarta, but I don't think they cared. And then this one called Dreamweaver. This was a site. I remember my friend got given an assignment to create a website, and what he did, his teacher at the time didn't know about Dreamweaver, and he went to the Yahoo and copied the source code and just pasted it in Dreamweaver and just did a little of a shimmy, and then he got like an A1. Terrible guy. But yeah, Dreamweaver. Fun fact: if you know a guy called Adi Osmani who works for Google and is a wonderful advocate for the web, he was part of the initial team that developed Dreamweaver. Yes. So this was the only alternative if you wanted to do like anything interactive. You couldn't do that on the web, right? And then you needed these guys. First of all, you needed to have like tons of floppy drives, you know. I can see people in the chat having horrific flashback. And then you needed to do all of these. And there was a time when the CD came up. It's crazy because the icon for save today is the floppy disk drive, right? That's the icon for save. But it's so crazy that they're thinking about changing the icon for save today because a lot of the Gen Z, the new like people born 2000 upward, don't actually relate to the save icon because they've never seen a floppy drive in their life. I think the day I read that, I realized, oh my God, I need to start taking my life serious. It's time to start playing, Sani. We are officially old. And remember these guys, you know, insert disk 1, time to insert disk 2, time to insert disk 3. It was a skill being able to install software. I remember when I lived in Nigeria, I got paid money to come to people's house and install software for them. And that was a skill. That was a skill, you know? And then we had a very messy browser standard. First, we had, you know, DHTML, you know, and then, which was dynamic HTML that bought the marquee. And then we had XHTML, which was basically what socialism would look like if it was HTML would look like under socialism. Everything was very strict, you know. You had to close all the tabs, all the tags and everything. And then you had a UHTML and a me HTML and everyone HTML. You could open 5 different websites and they were all running on different versions of HTML, which was just crazy because then, you know, validators it was just a crazy time. I don't know who thought it was a great idea to do that. And we can agree that was a big mistake. It was not the smartest decision to do that. You know, so what the hell happened? What the hell happened? Let's look at what the hell happened. Well, broadband happened. You know, we went from cavemen waiting for with the dial-up to like broadband. I remember I was the only kid, right? In my high school that had a broadband connection. That was really cool. I was popular. The pretty young girls in my class could watch YouTube without it buffering for too long, and I was like the cool kid because I had a broadband connection. The little stuff you used to put, the modems you used to put on your laptop with the aerial. I had one of those. So I became very popular, and I had I had to pay for it because my father wouldn't pay for my broadband connection because it's so expensive in Nigeria. It was around in today's, I was paying like maybe $200, £200 a month for 100 hours. So what did I do? I actually used to download illegal music from Netscape and people paid me to put it on their phones. Yes, I know. I was a pirate and proud. Hey, I had to do what I had to do, right? But that was it. And I had, I think, a 64 kilobyte connection or 128 kilobyte connection. And then, so broadband happened. You had a really fast internet, and then, bigger content everywhere. All this nice stuff was coming, right? And you had different input options. We went from just a mouse and a keyboard to like touch screens, to joysticks, to webcams, to cameras, to scanners, to microphones, and the track ball on the bottom right hand corner. Whoever thought that was a great idea, I still don't know why. That kind of thing. And remember, I was a young kid in Nigeria, just literally around 11, 10, 12 in Nigeria, a place where, first of all, not a lot of people even understood like computers. It was probably like, if you don't know about Nigeria, the most populous country in Africa. So it was pretty ahead of all the other African countries, but in comparison to the UK and the US, we were way behind. So it was a struggle to tell my dad, like, hey, I needed to do this thing to go and learn. People just didn't really understand. And every day I would go to the cyber cafe and pay loads of money there. And I would see what my peers in America and in England were doing with the internet. And I was just amazed. I wanted to do that, but I just didn't have the right things. But I didn't let that stop me. So that's kind of how I was learning. And then I think another thing that really changed the internet was Ajax. Ajax came. So you had all this, like before the internet, the only way you could fetch information is by sending the web page to the browser and back via post and get requests. But when Ajax came, you could do those post and get requests for like without refreshing the web page. So you could just do them asynchronously, right? I think the most important thing that happened with regards to the web is this particular event. This was the single most important event. So there's this genius of a guy, right? I don't really know his name. I think his name is Steve Jobs. So this guy goes and holds this phone and goes, hey, this is called the iPhone, and you are my iSheep, and you are going to pay your iDollars and your iPounds to my iCompany. And people thought it was a great idea. So he invented this thing called the iPhone. And I think this really, really, really was the single most important thing for the web. Because what happened now, what that meant is everything, we started using the mobile, right? So we started from accessing the internet or the web via our computers only. We started going from our mobile devices, so that really changed the way we started doing things. And then new device features came up, right? So you now had accelerometers to see where you are in the 3D space. You had near field communication come up later on. You had camera access. Now you could really just take pictures and do things. You had GPS and stuff like that, And then native is born again, right? Basically, because you have a web page, you needed to go and learn the most beautiful programming language in the history of programming languages, which is Objective-C, to create an app for iPhone or Java for Android, right? And this means you had to rewrite your app all over again, learn completely new skills, buy new tools, Xcode and all of that. You had to think about different experiences. You had to read. There was no reuse across all these platforms. It was not a nice thing. I think by 2011, you had Android, iPhone, Windows Phone. There was talk about Ubuntu OS, Firefox OS. Everybody wanted to create a mobile ecosystem, and it was not very fun to support these applications, right? But what happened? What about the web? Why didn't they make the web? Remember, the smartest people in Apple said, we didn't want to support the web at the time. Steve Jobs actually always bet on the web, but in case, but it was just too what's it called? Too soon. That promise was too soon. The thing is, the web really sucked, right? It was single-threaded. There was no data persistence. You had minimum interactivity, and the cross-browser shenanigans would kill any sane person. It would make your therapist need a therapist. Like, that's how terrible the web was. I remember when Facebook rewrote all their mobile applications with Cordova, thinking, oh, we wanted to be progressive and everything. And it took them like a couple of months. They rewrote everything back in native, right? So solutions, you know, this was the first solution at the time. You know, you had Flash and Shockwave, a great tool by Adobe where you could get rich user experiences and allows you. It allowed you on the web to use cross-browser features. They even made Adobe for mobile. Does anybody remember this website, minuteclip.com? Right? Anyone? I want to see the chat if people remember minuteclip.com. So if you don't know what minuteclip.com is, Minuteclip was this amazing web page where you could go and like play free video games. I think it's still live till today. You could go to minuteclip.com. And this was where I spent most of my time just trying to learn how to play games. And the only way you could do that was Shockwave. And the funny thing is, this was the one problem with that. You had to install Flash, right? And then you had to have Shockwave. And then you must make sure that the current version of Flash you had was supported by the program you were trying to run. And this version of Shockwave you had was supported by the version of Flash. And if you lived in my part of the world, in Nigeria, you know, in a non-broadband environment, just forget about it. Forget about it, because like it just didn't make sense. Because the time I remember, I would go to the cyber cafe and I would buy like an hour, and it would take me like 60, maybe like 45 minutes to install Shockwave. And then if in Nigeria the power supply is not amazing, so if the power supply went on, I had to like reinstall everything from scratch again. It was just crazy. So while all this long stuff, obviously it was because the web really sucked. As simple as that, right? Well, maybe not anymore. The web does not have to suck. So let's see some new APIs today that the web is introducing that we can use to create really rich experiences. The first one is the web speech API. One of the less, like maybe not so popular web APIs, not very common. It allows you for speech detection, and also allows you to recognize speech. So you can speak in, and the speech will be recognized, and also and detected, and you can use that to do whatever you wanted to do. So let's go ahead and see a quick demo about this, right? So I'm just gonna refresh this page. This is what I'm gonna do. What you'll see in this page is it's a demo where I just need to click the screen, and then I can say any of the colors, and then the background color will change because the program will recognize my speech. So I'm just gonna click here, and I'm gonna say red. As you can see, it says here, I'm gonna say red. Red. Salmon. Salmon. Tomato. I didn't even know tomato was a color. Yellow. Black. Brown. Well, I'm having way too much fun, actually. I think this is part of the point. But this is a wonderful speech API that is built so the browser is available in the browser that you can use today in most major browsers. And this is really amazing because you can recognize speech. You can see how it was able to recognize my speech and then change the CSS background color. That's really amazing, I think. Another one we're going to talk about is service workers and push notification. So today we have something called the service worker that allows you for offline support, right? And you can get mobile app-like experiences, so you can even install your apps. So Twitter.com is actually currently a progressive web app, which means it has a service worker and it also has push notifications. So you can use you can go, if you go to Twitter.com, right, you can actually on your mobile device install that device. You can actually do that also on your Chrome browser. So right now I have Twitter.com installed as a progressive web application on my Mac, but I have an icon on my desktop on my Mac that I can double click that will open up that particular app. It's really, really amazing. App-like experience. It has data persistence or limited data storage, push notifications as well, right? Now, some of the apps I talked about, Twitter is one of them. It's a progressive web app. You can go test that out. But also Starbucks have a progressive web application as well. So it's already happening now, and many, many, many more, right? Now, other APIs to watch out for. I'm a big fan of the web VR and web AR efforts that's being happen. That is being done. People like Samsung are doing amazing work there. Google is doing really amazing work. Safari, not quite sure. Apple, what the hell are you doing? Web payments is another one that will unify payment structures across. I'm really waiting for that one as well. Web share is another one that unify the sharing experience. Web Bluetooth. My friend Kenneth Rhodes from Intel has been working on this for years. He's really, really amazing. As my talk comes to an end, the web is for all of us, right? It's not just for me. It's not for you. We all wait to each other to create a better web experience. We've come from the days where one person, Microsoft owned what it meant to have like web standards, and then we decentralized that to like everyone, and now we have different engines that are competing, Chromium and so on and so forth. So the web is for all of us. So why don't we come together and build a unified web? So it's up to me, up to you, right? Now, to find me online, like I said, it's very easy. You can find me at saniyusuf.com, or you can just Google my name, Sani Yusuf, and that should give you all the possible links that you can find. If you find anybody that looks this amazing using anything Sani Yusuf, let me know so I can sue them. Well, without further ado, this is where my talk ends, and I will welcome back Mike and take all the questions.
Oh, that's dangerous inviting me back. Right, as I seem to have already broken the internet once, let's see if we can survive the rest of this without me doing it again. I think there's proof that progressive web apps have a place to exist in the universe because they can survive people like me. Right, let's remove that. Oh, we have questions, and put the banner up so that it looks all pretty and stuff. There we go. Comments. So, from our very own Stuart Langridge, there is a large amount of APIs which add new capabilities to the web. Take Web Bluetooth as an example, but iOS doesn't and won't support them. How do we progress given that? Considering they do take up a large amount of the mobile market, it is a very valid point.
That's very true. I think Apple, it's a conundrum, right? Apple is I don't know what Apple is doing. I do know, I have spoken to people that work on the Apple like browser stuff. I don't think I don't know what it is. I'll be honest, I don't know. I refuse to believe that Apple is just this evil company that has no plans. I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's the fact that maybe, the better web standards, Apple may not make as much money from the App Store. There is that whole thought process. But one thing Apple would be crazy to think if they're too big to fail. BlackBerry learned the hard way. I think if the web is moving forward and people start building for the web, and Apple then becomes you're holding us back, you will see people stop using that for that reason. We saw that happen with Microsoft, right? Where fundamentally people stopped using Internet Explorer. Even though the new Edge came, it was still hard because people just had that weird, they just look the same because, hey, in Microsoft, they were thought they were too big to fail. And then, hey, Chrome just came and swept everything away. So it can be difficult. I would say that the whole point of progressive web apps is that you support what it's progressive, right? So it doesn't have to work the same way, but it's a progressive enhancement. So your app would still work normally, but on the better browsers or the browsers with better support, then it just enhances itself and does more stuff. So I would still say we should build for the web like that.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I personally feel that at some point, Apple's just going to have to bow down to peer pressure and behave.
Yep.
It may be a court judgment level of peer pressure, but they will bow down eventually. Okay, we have another question. Oh, once again from Haida. What's your thoughts on languages frameworks coming in to replace JavaScript in the browser with WebAssembly? Think Blazor as an example.
I don't see that as a replacement. I mean, JavaScript is the is what is given the ability for use of WebAssembly, right? The whole point is like I don't think we're going to see everyone just suddenly building the entirety of their web pages with, like WebAssembly. I think it will be what WebAssembly would do is the more powerful stuff, right? So if you want to build, like you want to have access on the lower layer. Now, is it the right way? I still don't know. I would prefer to live in a world where the bindings from the web APIs themselves were so performant and so lovely that you didn't even need something like WebAssembly. But I don't think that's feasible within a finite amount of time. Where that's what makes WebAssembly very, very amazing. So I think I don't see the thing where now as a web developer you need to know WebAssembly. I don't think that's the case. I don't think a lot of people will be writing WebAssembly. I think a lot of people will be writing things like, C, C++, and then like compile down to like a WebAssembly module and just require that. Most people will not literally be writing WebAssembly. That's just my opinion. So Blazor, all these things will be amazing. People will just be using frameworks on top of that, compile it down, require that module in JavaScript, and then do that. Yeah, that's what I see happening.
Yeah, I agree. Unless you're going to be doing something really crazy that requires some like hardware acceleration, it's probably going to be more effort than it's worth.
Yes.
At least for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, and I have a question because this is one I love asking people. What's the oddest thing you've done with a service worker?
Good question.
Because I've seen people do some crazy stuff with them. A guy called Phil Nash once tried making a game using ground notifications using service worker to do most of the poll work. So,
it's interesting. Generally, I've stayed very kosher with service workers because service workers are one of those things where, like it's very nice, but it's like they hand you these very powerful, like a key to a Ferrari. It looks good, but remember it's a Ferrari. Like you gotta be careful driving this thing. So I've haven't done anything crazy with service worker or anything odd. I've paid attention with it. Yeah.
Okay. And one last question, because I'm a complete internet muppet and I completely forgot. Another one from Stefan Kudev. Loved your talk. Do you think PWAs on mobile devices will ever be a rival to native apps in terms of transitions, rendering, better access to device resources?
For the near future, no. For the long term, probably. But then I have a thing where I don't like to predict the future of the web. If you told me in 2005 that a time will come when I'll be able to have you can't envision what we don't even know. Like you tell me about mobile apps, it will be very hard to envision. I do think by the time like things like WebAssembly will make it possible, right? I think the performance from a WebAssembly application and like a normal standard application, the differences in performance will be like micro optimization. You're basically working on the same, you're basically working on the same eggshells. It's like the difference is like Usain Bolt and like whoever came after Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is still first, but the second person is still pretty quick, right? Like, they're by no means slow type of thing. So I think over time, yes, but it's left to see. I wouldn't be able to predict that far into the future. But I think in terms of transition rendering here, we're already at a place where with WebAssembly and like proper WebGL stuff, you could get pretty much the same level of like craziness. Yeah, at this point in time.
Yeah. That's a very good point. I think we've reached the point where your average person can't tell the difference between a native and a web-built app when it comes to normal interaction. OpenGL and Insane Graphics, yes. Everything else,
yeah.
Unless you have network tab open, doubt it.
Yes. I think even in the near future, there'll still be like even 20, 15 years from now, there'll still be. Right, Microsoft is still gonna be making MicrosoftWord.com as a native app, even though they have a web application version of it. It's just because of, first of all, consumer behavior and other things. Like Microsoft Word now, as it is today, could actually pretty much be a completely web application, like for the most part. But still, we're still gonna have a native app. It's the same thing I say with mobile applications. The App Store is gonna be here for a long time. regardless. It's just that transition is going to take a while.
Yeah. Do you have any more remarks or sharing that you want to quickly drop to our wonderful audience right now?
Nothing specific really. I think it's been a wonderful, amazing thing in the future meetup. I was hoping that this could happen in real life, meet up there in Birmingham, but here we are. We wouldn't let it beat us. Yes.
At some point, the world will return to a new normal, which allows us to have miniature events again. So when that happens, you'll have to come back up and share something new that you've learned.
All right. I'll be more than happy to. Thank you very much.
No worries. Let's crack on with the day.
Bye.